everyone, welcome. My name is Jill Anafredi. I'm a product marketing manager here. I'm taking over for Bronson just for the day. Don't worry, he has not gone anywhere. He's still here helping us in the studio, but we're here to talk about Awardco Engage, and that's one of my favorite things to talk about. So with me, I have Sarah Trusty. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Sarah Trusty. I'm an account executive here at Awardco. Excited to chat more about Engage.
And she's one of our product pros when it comes to Engage. She was the first one to get certified. She's also really fast at running, if I'm not mistaken. Do you want to tell us about the coolest thing you did last year?
Okay, yes, I'm really big into running. I actually ran the New York City Marathon last year in November and plan to run the Boston Marathon in 2027.
Was New York your qualifier for Boston?
It was.
That's dreams. That's incredible.
It was unreal. If you ever get the chance, do it.
I mean, I don't ever want the chance, but I will support you. And so if you want to see more around that, connect with Sarah on LinkedIn. She'll post about her journey. And you did a cool fundraiser too for New York.
Yeah, it was for Action for Healthy Kids and was able to raise money for the charity. And then they got me a spot into the marathon because it's quite difficult to get in.
Amazing. Well, yeah, connect with Sarah and myself on LinkedIn and we'll stay in touch. But today we are going to be going over Awardco Engage. We're going to walk through what the product is, how you can use it, how it will make a difference for your employees, but also in your lives as admins. So we're going to be walking through. Also, we have a chat. Hello, Maureen. Excited to see you from Nashville. Drop in where you're joining us from and so that we can chat live. I'll be monitoring the chat as well, and we can answer any questions live throughout. Sarah's going to be running us through things, but we're flexible here. We're happy to take any questions, and should we jump right in?
Let's do it.
Okay, awesome. The first thing to know about Awardco Engage is that this lives directly in the platform that you already know and love. What we love about this is with engagement surveys, a lot of the time people will surface that recognition is a challenge, and that's what causes them to come to Awardco. So by bringing Awardco Engage to market, what we wanted to do was put that all into the same system so that you as an admin can ask the questions, listen and understand your employees, and then build recognition programs to be able to reinforce all of that. So that's what we're going to be showing you today. Awesome. Sarah, should we jump into our very first part of the demo?
Let's do it. Yes. Let's hop into it. Like Jill said, today we're going to be going over a few different perspectives of this survey. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go through what it looks like for your employees when it comes to taking surveys. We'll go through the analytics on the back end as a manager view, and then we'll go into the admin side as well.
Perfect. So 3 different personas.
Yes.
They all start with A, so it's
yes, A-Day. Let's start with Alice. The big thing about Awardco Engage and why it's been so successful so far is because Awardco Engage is going to live within the Awardco recognition tool. It's all about just compiling everything into one space, making it very simple for your employees to know when to take engagement surveys, where they need to take them. So you can see here we have kind of a very simple looking Awardco platform, but ultimately this is going to live within the Awardco portal that your employees already know and love. So if you're already on Awardco for recognition, Engage is just going to be another way that employees can interact with the system.
Amazing.
Along with that, if your employees prefer the mobile view, we can also do some poll surveys on your mobile device as well. So logging in as Alice, you'll see on the homepage here, I can go and take surveys on the toggle on the side, or we can even just make that a widget, which is super simple. I'll click Start. And then the first thing you'll notice as this pops up is it's going to ensure that all of the employees know that this survey is confidential. And Jill, will you kind of explain the difference of anonymous versus confidential?
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things that me as an employee, I personally care about when it comes to engagement surveys. I want to be able to provide my open, honest feedback about the professional environment I work in. And so confidential means that I can share information and nothing will be tied back to me personally. Anonymous is where you won't have any information, but confidential is where we're able to segment all of the responses by metadata. And so you'll be able to see what is the overall sentiment by team, department, region, office location. And so that becomes really valuable to you as an admin where your employees feel like they can share all of their feelings as freely as they want, but they're not going to be traced down to their individual response. We have a confidentiality threshold of 5 built into the platform, so you can't drill down, which is something Sarah will show us in the manager view.
Exactly. Thanks so much, Jill. Yes, honestly, we want your employees to feel like they can be very honest. They can give their true opinions as they're going to be submitting their surveys. So we can see this as confidential, click start, and then you'll see, I'll also show you how we're going to build out these questions, but we just want to make it as user-friendly as possible. Maybe when we build out this survey, it's like a 50-question survey, but you'll notice we'll be able to create pulse surveys from that larger survey. So right now I'm only looking at a 9-question survey. Very simple. You can see there's just 5 responses. We might have some optional comments as well. And then you'll just go through and then submit the survey. I won't go through the whole thing, but very simple from there. And then the employee knows that we're good to go.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that it's also available on mobile devices. And so for anyone with a deskless workforce, they can access it from whether it's a mobile kiosk throughout the office or the plant, and then also from their mobile devices, whether it's through the Progressive web app where you just access it via a browser or our native mobile app. So I love that it's very accessible for a variety of different work functions.
Absolutely. The key here is just to make it very simple. We want your employees to feel like it's not too overwhelming to give their feedback, and it's very straightforward. So moving on to the next A name, we're going to go through Adam.
Perfect.
Adam is a group manager or a director in this case, and really the managers are the most important audience when it comes to the Awardco Engage tool. And the reason for that is because a lot of times I hear, managers just don't really know what to do with the data that they're getting from their direct reports when it comes to taking surveys.
Well, and that puts a lot of weight and burden on HR admins because they obviously have to, let's say you're at a 100,000 person company.
Right.
You're getting all of that information, you have to distill it, you have to analyze it, and then package it up in a way that makes sense for the frontline managers. What I love about what Sarah's about to walk through is this is a manager view, and so it's putting all the power in the manager's hands to be able to understand what is happening in their team at a more micro level, and so that they're able to understand what they're doing well and what they can do to improve without having to wait for your signal in terms of what to do. Obviously, you as the admin always control who can see what and when, and so if you did want to pull back a little bit, you could do that as well.
Exactly. Yes. So as an admin, you'll have access to see all the responses, but let's go in and dive into what Adam's going to see as a manager. So I'll go to this survey tool here on the side, and I'll be able to see a few different surveys that are being ran throughout the organization. Now I want to go check out the results for my team. Adam is actually a second line leader, and so Adam will be able to see all the results from all the different managers that also report to him. For example, maybe he wants to see how Anna's team's doing. Very simple. I click on Anna. You can see, response rates looks pretty healthy for Anna's team. Can kind of look at that overview as well. But let's go back to Adam and dive into his specific direct line.
I love that because, if you're a people manager and you manage, let's say, a team of graphic designers, a team of developers, those are 2 completely different skill sets and then also just aptitudes. And so it's nice that you can see them at a different level and understand okay, the designers, they need more snacks, but the engineers, they just want to be left alone and in the dark. And so you can kind of make decisions based on that.
Exactly, yes. And that's what Awardco Engage is all about. It's how can we get this data and then respond to it. And so by being able to look into the different teams, look at the data there, then you can see, okay, great, looks like Anna's team needs more snacks. Or like Jill said, you can just respond accordingly to the different teams that report to you. So going back, zooming out to Adam here, we're going to look at this high-level overview of everybody that's reporting to Adam. Again, this is not the entire organization. This is just Adam's direct line. So you can see there's different themes that are involved, and we're going to come back to themes when it comes to building out these surveys. But we have 8 themes that are involved, results in 23 questions. You can see the response rates here. And then diving a little bit more into the themes, amongst the 8 different themes, we have 4 indicator theme scores and then 4 action theme scores. When it comes to indicator theme scores, you're going to see more things of like engagement, well-being. Action theme scores is going to be tied to things that you can actually change and take action on, give some feedback. And so as Adam's looking at this data, he can see, okay, it looks like communication's a little bit low here, as well as management. This might be worth diving into.
Amazing. Should we dive into them?
Let's do it.
See what's up. And what I love about these themes is these themes are actually derived from, we have an organizational psychologist on staff, and she did a pretty robust analysis of all of these questions compared to other types of engagement questions, and was able to measure that they are a great indicator of engagement compared to how other questions are asked. And so if you don't know where to start, you're like, I just want to know how people are doing. We actually have a few different templates. So there's a 19, there's a 47 question survey. You can pick either of those and just put them in, and that will be a great starting point that you can either pulse off of later or just run the survey on an annual basis, whatever works best for your organization.
Awesome. I'm all about having a template to follow.
I love it. Just tell me what to do. Tell me what to do.
Yes, absolutely. So diving into themes a little bit more, we can segment out and see, great, it looks like there was only one question that was actually tied to intent to stay, versus there were 3 questions tied to communication. Now, looking at this management score, I know that it doesn't have a very high favorability, and it looks like there's 2 questions that were tied to management. So let's drill a little bit more down into that. Now, as I look at the management theme, I want to know what was actually asked amongst the employees. You can see here, this looks like the real problem. You know, it looks like managers are not fully trusted by their employees. This is going to give Adam the tools that he needs and the data to take initiative and to go and speak with his managers to give feedback of, you know, hey, we need to build more trust, or, you know, let's work on our communication.
That's so nice that you can see directly, like, where's the breakdown? And you can also see that. So that's for Adam's team, and he could even dive into like, does that exist for Anna's team?
Yes.
And see where that's happening. We're actually going to be releasing action planning directly in the tool in the next few months, which will be really exciting that you can track the action plans directly in the programs. However, right now what you can do is create recognition programs. So how do you set a company value as trust and create recognition programs to highlight when trust has been displayed in an exemplary way throughout your organization, and use that to drive up that overall theme?
Absolutely. I'm so excited for that.
I know, it'll be so nice. And what I love about this is it's tangible. We close the loop, and we're not just seeing results. We're seeing results and seeing what we can do to shift and adjust it.
Yes. There's nothing more offensive than when you're asked to take a survey and then nothing happens with the results. So let's
just
take
scream
action.
into the void.
Yes.
So your employees will not feel like they're screaming into the void.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, we went ahead, we drilled down from themes to questions. Another thing that Adam has access to do as a manager is we can look at filters. And so again, going back to just the ease of use of the filters, is this is metadata that's coming over from your HRIS system. So if you're a current Awardco customer currently, then we're already going to have this type of data of countries that your employees are based in, departments, and then it just makes it really easy to segment this out.
That seems like the most overwhelming part about setting up an engagement program is like when you have to connect to your HRIS system and say, these are the hierarchies I'm working with. But if you're already funneling all of that into Awardco via ADP, Workday, UKG, whatever you use, that takes weeks off of the setup process.
Absolutely. Yes. So let's just take that data. Let's use filters here. And for Adam, maybe he wants to see, how are all my employees doing in India? Let's kind of look at those themes. Okay, wow, it looks like a lot of the management responses are coming from India. Now, maybe we've heard that not only in India, but some of the female population has had a few issues. So let's filter down to the females in India. What you'll notice here is it's not going to allow you to see the data. Again, going back to everything being confidential, you're not going to be able to see, Jill's direct responses.
I love that because I never want to like be able to drill down and personally identified, but it's a lot safer when you're like identified as a team or as the whole. And so it also helps your employees not feel like they're going to be retaliated. Yeah, that word?
Right.
Yes, there's not going to be any retaliatory action taken against their responses.
Absolutely. So yes, wanted to highlight that. Again, just ensuring that your employees can be honest, they can give their true feedback. And even though we have awesome data that we can pull these reports and segment this all out, it's not going to put anyone in an uncomfortable situation. Awesome. So really just wanted to take time to highlight that, go over the overview of what this would look like for your directors and for your managers. What we're going to do next is we'll dive into the admin side.
Perfect. So we've seen what it looks like for the end user, the employee, what the manager looks like, which I actually just read a Gallup report that said that the managers are where like engagement is the most impacted. So managers have the influence to be able to make changes in engagement. And so I love that we made that such an integral part of our platform, just because it enables you guys as admins to be able to make significant change.
Absolutely. And definitely makes it a lot easier for the managers to see, oh, these are things that I could change and, take action on. So going to Anita, our last A name, Anita is going to represent a admin of Awardco Engage. So again, Anita has access to all the admin capabilities. You'll notice as I click the surveys here, not only will Anita be able to see all the different responses and the results for the entire organization, this will load, but the most important piece here is that Anita has access to actually create a survey. And this is one of my favorite parts. I'll be able to go in and decide, okay, are we going to create an engagement survey or a simple survey? Today we've been talking a lot about the engagement surveys. The simple survey is a little bit more ad hoc. This lives within your recognition tool today. But speaking towards engagement surveys, we'll start there. And again, we'll come in here. It's very easy to create.
That's so simple.
Yes.
There's no, I'm overwhelmed with how simple our UX team has made this, just because I have worked in a lot of different survey tools throughout my career, and they can be really overwhelming sometimes. And so I love that this interface is just clean.
Right.
Like I wouldn't need to have a background in like employee engagement or anything like that to be able to come in, create a survey.
Yep, it really just walks you through the process, makes it very simple, but then it's also a very powerful tool. So come in here, what do we want to name the survey? Let's add a description so that the employees know how to build this out. You'll kind of see completion note here, and again, we'll highlight the confidentiality. Now, when it comes to the questions, let's add some questions. Now, we can, of course, create custom questions that are going to be, maybe one-offs, things that are tied back to your company culture, a little bit more simple. But this is where Awardco really shines, the Awardco Engage tool. This is going to be our standard question library.
Amazing.
Going back to what Jill mentioned, these are going to be tied to themes that have been researched and data backed with tons of different questions that fall within these different themes. For example, maybe I really want to have some surveys around goal alignment. Let's choose some questions from there. Possibly around the core values. Maybe we want to kind of take the values off the wall, put them into action. So let's add those into our engagement survey. Now, you might not add every single question, but just for building out this survey, we'll add a few here. And then you can always go in and say, great, I want to have some optional comments as well for some short answer.
Oh, that's so nice. Like if you want to just like make all of them required, all of them have an optional comment, you can just do that all in one.
Absolutely.
This is like the TurboTax of engagement. Oh my gosh.
So true.
Happy tax day for almost everyone.
Yes.
I love that.
Perfect. So once we decide what questions, what themes we want this to be tied to, we'll add those questions. Looks like I have about 20 to work with. And then I can go in and rearrange these around. Maybe I have a certain specific order. If there were maybe some that I did not require an optional comment, I could say, great, we don't really need a comment here. And sometimes at the end, you know, an admin might want to say, great, you know, go ahead and give us just a short answer of any other feedback.
Oh, that's amazing. Because, like, every company has a different way of asking the question. And so you're still able to do that, but also leverage the expertise and the research that has gone into this question library as well. So I love the flexibility either way.
Very flexible, yes. Once we have all the questions that we want, then let's move on to who's going to be participating in this survey. So this might be something that you're surveying for the entire organization. You want everybody's feedback, but maybe, you know, we want to just survey the operations team because we want to know how the operations team is doing, maybe all of those India employees. We kind of want to have a specific engagement survey for those employees to help us take a little bit more specific action.
I love that, especially if you're doing a pulse and you want to like segment it and get a little more detail on how it's going over time. This is a great view.
Right, exactly. So we can limit eligibility. We can go, you know, we're all about rewards. So maybe we want to say, great, if you take the survey, you're going to get some points.
Yeah,
for
which
completing.
I feel like that's a controversial opinion in the engagement world one way or another. I feel like best practice would be not to incentivize an engagement survey. However, we've seen a lot of companies who have little to no participation in their engagement survey. And so I would say this is kind of like you're seeding the pot in terms of how do you get a buy-in? How do you get people regularly in the habit of filling out an engagement survey? So this is a great way to kick that off.
There's always the option. We'll always encourage points if that can be something that we can do.
Especially like for a survey like t-shirt size, like just tell me your t-shirt size.
Yes, just tell us.
We'll give you a point.
Perfect. So once we decide who this survey is actually going to be going out to, are we going to reward for this? Is there a budget this is getting pulled from? Let's then go to scheduling the survey to go out. And this is another fun part to me. So I don't know about you, but when I get a survey and it has over 30 questions, I get very overwhelmed. And so we have some recommendations here. If we want to take these 21 questions, but we are, you know, we want to just create a pulse survey, maybe we'll say, great, we want this to go out bi-weekly. Awardco Engage will then give a suggestion. Great. If you're going to have these questions go out bi-weekly, we recommend under 6 questions to be involved. So maybe we're going to say, great, 4 questions bi-weekly, 4 questions will be sent out every 2 weeks, and then you'll know, great, I'll have all my results in 12 weeks.
Amazing. And so it does the math for you. Again, TurboTax. The less math I have to do, the better, always.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Awesome. A few last notes here is we'll be able to decide, you know, when does this first go out to your employees? Maybe I want to schedule this to go out Monday morning so it's fresh on everybody's mind. You send out a note and then maybe you have a close time as well. You know, we're only going to take responses from the 1st to the end of the month or something like that.
Amazing.
Now, going to the communications, this is where we'll finish up. But again, this is going to really lean on the notifications that you might already be using when it comes to Awardco recognition, whether that's via email, Teams notification, text message, and then it just makes it really easy for your employees to know when to go take their survey.
I love that because personally I get really overwhelmed with everything going on, and if I see an email, I'll probably forget about it. But I do get a Slack notification saying, hey, pulse survey's ready to go. And I'm like, okay, I can click on it. I'm going to answer a question. Lisa, you mentioned this is available on mobile. Is that right? I have deskless employees, but still want them to participate. That is absolutely correct. And so for me, I take the surveys on my mobile app. However, we have a customer who has, I think they have like 30 plants around United States and Mexico. So they're setting up a few different iPad kiosks throughout those plants. And so that each person has an assigned time to go take their engagement surveys. So a few different ways that you can configure it, particularly when they don't have a computer or device.
Absolutely. Yeah. Love that question.
Awesome. We have a few other questions if we want to jump into those. Can managers create their own surveys, and also can they see results from other teams?
Ooh, good question.
Right? And so permissioning is all configurable. That's one thing I love about Awardco, whether it's on the recognition or the engagement side, everything is configurable. So I actually have permission to create surveys within the Awardco platform, within the one that we use. So I surveyed sales yesterday. However, my permissions do not extend to be able to see survey results from other teams. And so I'm just restricted to the surveys that I create. And then when it comes to managers being able to see results from other teams, you can configure this, but how it is set standard is that they can only see the results for their downline. And so what's nice is they're just seeing what affects them. They're not going to go snooping in other areas. That is blocked automatically.
Yes.
Perfect. Other questions. Can I determine my own themes? How does that work? Is it dependent on what questions I select from the question bank? It's a great question, Paul. So the answer is, for now, all of the themes that we have standardized are what we have in the platform. And so if you ask those questions, that's what the reporting will get mapped to. Our product team is working on building in custom themes and then also custom question mapping as well. So that'll come in the next several months. But if you have more specific questions, you can ask your sales rep or your CSM about it. Perfect.
It's fun to get some interactions.
I know,
Thanks
some
for your
live questions. I'm double checking in a few different spots to make sure we're getting them all.
Perfect.
Okay, I think we've gotten the bulk of them, but if you do have additional questions, feel free to reach out, whether it's via LinkedIn, email, talk to your sales rep about Awardco Engage. This is our favorite thing to talk about, as you can tell. We got really hyped about it.
We're excited.
So we're so excited to continue to share Awardco Engage, and we hope you guys have been able to get a sneak peek into how the tool works. Stay tuned for more product releases to come and join us for the next product pulse. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.